The pickaxe hits the ground, and it sounds like striking iron. That reverberation travels up the wooden handle, through the leather gloves, and rattles the bones in my forearms. This isn't just dirt. It's a frozen fortress that has spent 6 months hardening into something that resembles concrete more than soil. Most people look at a building site and see potential. When I look at this ground, I see a fight. A fight that started before the sun came up and will continue long after my muscles have given up. We aren't just building a shelter here. We are trespassing on land that does not want to be tamed. The temperature gauge reads well below freezing, but the sweat inside my jacket is already cold and clinging to my skin. Every breath is a cloud of steam that vanishes instantly into the gray sky. The plan was simple on paper: dig a trench, lay the stone, stack the logs, put a roof over our heads. But paper doesn't account for the variables of reality. Paper doesn't account for the ice lenses hidden 3 inches below the surface that shatter your shovel. It doesn't account for the mud that turns into a thick, suctioning paste the moment the sun hits it, grabbing your boots and refusing to let go. You can see it in the way the tools bounce off the earth. This is the definition of resistance. But there is a specific kind of stubbornness required for this work. It's not about being the strongest person in the valley. It's about being the one who refuses to stop swinging the hammer. We start with the drainage because if you don't control the water controls you. It's the oldest rule of construction, and out here, it's a matter of survival. The trench needs to be deep, cut through layers of clay and rock that have been compacted by centuries of pressure. The sound of the shovel scraping against hidden stone sets your teeth on edge. It's a rhythmic grinding noise. Scrape, lift, toss, scrape, lift, toss. You get into a trance. You stop thinking about the cold, and you start thinking about the geometry of the flow. Gravity is the only reliable coworker we have today. If we dig this right, gravity will carry the freezing meltwater away from our foundation. If we get it wrong, we're building a swimming pool, not a cabin. The mud is deceptive. It looks soft, but it weighs a ton. Each shovelful is a dead weight on the lower back. You can see the strain in the body language. Shoulders slumped, grip tightening, the sudden slip of a boot finding no traction. It's a physical conversation with the elements, and right now, the elements are winning. But then, you hit a rhythm. You find a pocket of looser gravel. You make progress. That's the hook. That tiny dopamine hit of seeing a clear path for the water to run. It's satisfying in a primal way. Watching muddy water rush down a channel you carved with your own hands is one of the few instant rewards you get in a project of this scale. Now comes the stone. We aren't pouring concrete from a truck. We are harvesting what the land provides. These rocks are ancient, heavy, and awkward. There are no handles on a boulder. You have to find the leverage points. You have to read the rock. You wedge your fingers into the cold crevices, feeling the grit bite into your skin, and you heave. It's maximum effort for minimal movement. Inches matter. We are building the plinths, the feet upon which the entire cabin will stand. If these stones aren't level, if they aren't stable, everything we do for the next 3 weeks will be worthless. It's a high-stakes game of Tetris played with 300-pound granite blocks. There is a moment when you lift a stone and you feel your limit. Your tendons stretch, your breath catches, and you have a split second to decide, do I drop this and risk crushing my foot, or do I push through the burn? We push through. We shimmy the rock into place. The sound of stone grinding on stone is distinct. It's the sound of permanence. Once this rock is set, it's not moving for 100 years. That thought keeps you warm. You are leaving a mark. You are placing a foundation that will outlive you. The timber arrives, and the scale of the project shifts. These aren't 2 Wakes 4s from a hardware store. These are whole trees, pine logs that still smell of resin and forest floor. They are massive, heavy, and full of water weight. Stripping the bark is the first step. It's repetitive, hypnotic work. The draw knife slices through the cambium layer with a wet shearing sound. You have to strip them clean to prevent rot, to keep the insects out. It reveals the pale, clean wood underneath the rough exterior. It's like unwrapping the building material from its natural packaging. Moving these logs requires coordination. It's not just brute force, it's physics. We use ramps, ropes, and leverage. But even with mechanical advantage, you feel the weight. You feel the tree fighting gravity. When we hoist the first sill log onto the stone foundation, there is a collective holding of breath. This is the moment of truth. Does it sit flat? Does it rock? A log that rocks is a log that compromises the wall. We check the level. The bubble floats to the center. It's perfect. A small victory in a day of battles. But the weather doesn't care about our victories. The sky darkens, turning a bruised purple color, and the wind picks up. It's not just a breeze, it's a biting gale that cuts through layers of wool and fleece. The rain starts, mixing with the clay dust to create a slick, treacherous surface on every tool and every boot. The site transforms. It goes from a construction zone to a hazard zone. Working with heavy timber in the rain is dangerous. The wood becomes slippery. Your grip fails. The axe's handle feels like a live fish in your hands. But we can't stop. The moisture content of the wood is already high. We need to get these walls up and get a roof on before the timber swells and twists. We move to the joinery. This is where the brute force ends and the artistry begins. We are using a scribe fit method. You have to transfer the contours of the bottom log onto the top log. It requires a steady hand, which is hard to maintain when you're shivering. The scribe tool marks the line. Then comes the chainsaw. It roars to life, shattering the quiet of the woods. It's a violent tool used for a delicate task. You have to brush the tip of the bar against the line, carving out a concave groove. One slip and you ruin the log. One slip and you lose a week of work. The sawdust flies sticking to the wet clothes, turning us into sawdust snowmen. After the chainsaw, we switch to the axe and the chisel. This is the ASMR part of the job. The sharp steel biting into the soft pine, chunk, slice, peel. The wood curls away in clean shavings. You are sculpting the joint. You are making a negative space for the log below to nestle into. It has to be airtight. No insulation, no nails, just gravity and friction holding the walls together. When you roll the log over and drop it into place, you listen for the thud. A hollow sound means you missed. A solid, deep thud means you nailed it. It means the wood has married the wood. The walls rise, but the conditions deteriorate. The rain turns to sleet. The mud pit around the cabin deepens. Every step is a labor. You lift your foot, and the mud makes a sucking sound, trying to keep your boot. Your energy is drained twice as fast, just navigating the site. We are covered in it. Mud on our faces, mud in our hair, mud ground into the fibers of our clothes. It becomes part of the skin. You stop trying to stay clean and just accept the filth. It's liberating in a way. You become part of the landscape. We encounter a problem on the third course of logs. A twist we didn't see. The log sits high on one end. A gap of 2 inches. In modern construction, you'd fill it with foam. Here, we have to fix it. We have to roll the log back off, get the adze, and hew the face down. It's 20 minutes of heavy swinging to correct a mistake that nature grew into the tree 50 years ago. The adze is an ancient tool, and using it connects you to every builder who has stood in a forest for the last 1,000 years. It's a rhythmic hacking. The chips fly. The gap closes. We roll it back. It fits. Night falls early. The light drains out of the valley, leaving us working in the blue twilight. We light a fire, not for warmth, but for morale. The flames dance against the fresh wood of the rising walls. We eat quickly, fueling the furnace of the metabolism. The body demands calories. We are burning through energy reserves we didn't know we had. But looking at the structure in the firelight, seeing the interlocking corners, the mass of it, brings a second wind. It's real. It's standing. Morning brings a hard freeze. The mud from yesterday is now jagged rock. The logs are frosted white. We have to scrape the ice off the joints before we can continue. The sound of the wire brush on frozen wood is harsh and scratchy. It's a reminder that the environment is relentless. We are racing the winter. If the deep snow comes before the roof is on, we are in trouble. We start lifting the higher logs. We need ropes and pulleys now. The higher the wall gets, the harder the work becomes. You are balancing on a narrow beam, 10 feet in the air, trying to guide a 1,000-pound missile of wood into a precise slot. Communication is key. A shout, a hand signal. Lower, left, hold. The tension in the rope is palpable. You can hear the fibers stretching. If the rope snaps, someone gets hurt. We move with slow, deliberate caution. This is the danger zone of the build. I look at the hands of the crew, knuckles swollen, cuts wrapped in duct tape, fingernails black with bruising. These are the receipts of the transaction. You pay for the cabin with your body. But there is no complaining. There is only the next log, the next cut, the next swing. We reach the top plate, the final ring of logs. Now we have to frame the roof. We need height. We need rafters. We chose steep pitch to shed the heavy snow loads this region gets. Cutting the rafters is geometry in action. Angles, birds' mouths, ridge cuts. We lay them out on the ground, measuring twice, cutting once. The saw whines, struggling against the denser wood of the rafters. Lifting the ridge beam is the climax of the heavy lifting. It's the spine of the roof. It has to be dead center. We rig a gin pole, a primitive crane made from another log. We winch it up, inch by inch. The wood groans. The pulley creaks. It hovers above the structure, a massive pendulum. We guide it down. It slots into the king posts. The structure is tied together. It feels solid. It feels like a house. Now, the rafters go up. It looks like the ribcage of a whale, the skeleton of the roof against the gray sky. We are racing the clouds again. Another storm is coming. You can smell it. The air pressure drops. We start sheeting the roof. Plywood sheets are awkward in the wind. They act like sails. You have to nail them down fast. The hammer rhythm accelerates. Bang, bang, bang. It's a drumbeat of urgency. The first snowflakes start to fall as we lay the waterproof membrane. Big, fat flakes that melt on the warm steel of the hammer. We are sealing the envelope. We are creating the inside. For the first time, we have a dry space. We crawl under the roof. The sound of the wind changes. It's muffled. The world outside is howling, but inside it's quiet. It's a profound shift. We have separated ourselves from the storm. We aren't done. We need to chink the gaps. We mix the mortar, clay, sand, lime. It's a recipe as old as the hills. We pack it into the spaces between the logs. It seals the wind out. It locks the heat in. The trowel scrapes against the wood. It's detailed, intimate work. You learn every knot, every crack in the logs as you seal them. You are caressing the house into existence. The floor is next. We bring in gravel for drainage, leveling it by hand. Then the sleepers, then the floorboards. We chose rough-sawn oak. It's hard as stone, pre-drilling every hole, driving the screws. The floor stiffens the whole building. It stops being a shell and starts being a room. The smell of the oak sawdust is sharp and acidic, different from the pine. It mixes with the smell of the wet clay and the wood smoke from outside. It smells like home. We install the stove, a heavy cast-iron beast. Dragging it through the muddy doorframe is a final insult to our backs. But once it's in, once the chimney pipe is punched through the roof, everything changes. We light the first fire. The kindling catches. The draft roars up the flue. The iron starts to tick and ping as it heats up. We stand back and watch the heat waves shimmer off the stove. The air in the cabin begins to dry. The smell of damp clothes and wet wood is replaced by the dry, radiating heat. We sit on the unfinished floor, leaning against the logs we cut, peeled, and stacked. The exhaustion finally catches up. It washes over you like a tide. Your hands are stiff, claw-like. Your legs are heavy lead, but your mind is clear. Outside, the storm has fully arrived. The wind is battering the walls, throwing ice against the windows. But the walls don't move. The roof doesn't creak. The cabin is doing exactly what we built it to do. It is standing its ground. This process wasn't efficient. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. We broke tools. We bled. We cursed the mud and the ice. But looking at the firelight dancing on the hand-hewn timber, seeing the tool marks on the walls, you realize that the struggle is part of the value. You don't get this feeling from a prefab house. You don't get this connection from drywall and two casa fours. This cabin is a battery. It has stored all our energy, all our effort, and now it is radiating it back to us as shelter. Building in these conditions teaches you something about the world. It teaches you that the world is hard, indifferent, and powerful. But it also teaches you that you are capable of enduring it. You can take the mud, the ice, the weight, and you can organize it. You can give it shape. We finish the door. Heavy, solid wood. We hang it on the hinges. Creak! It swings shut with a solid clunk. The latch falls into place. We are locked in. The storm is locked out. That simple mechanical action, shutting a door you built against a storm you endured, is the closing sentence of this story. There are still details to finish. There is always more work. But the shell is complete. We built a cabin in the most unforgiving conditions. And we won. We took the worst the land could throw at us and turned it into a sanctuary. And as I sit here, watching the snow pile up against the window pane, I know one thing for sure. I would do it all again. Because the harder the build, the warmer the fire. The sun begins to rise on the final day, casting long shadows through the trees. The landscape is transformed. What was a muddy, chaotic scar on the land is now a structure that looks like it grew here. The snow covers the trampled ground, hiding the evidence of the struggle. All that remains is the cabin. Smoke curls lazily from the chimney, a signal of life in a dead landscape. I walk around the perimeter inspecting the work. I run my hand along the corner notches. They are tight. The chinking is solid. The roof overhangs are shedding the snow perfectly. It's a machine for living. Every design choice we made, every drop of sweat we invested, is paying off right now. I think about the first day. The sound of the pickaxe bouncing off the frozen ground, the doubt, the sheer physical intimidation of the task. It seems like a lifetime ago. We are different people now. We are stronger, harder, maybe a little more patient. The cabin built us as much as we built it. We pack up the tools, the shovels with their worn blades, the saws with their dull chains, the hammers with the grips worn smooth. They tell the story of the build just as well as the cabin does. We load the truck. The suspension groans, but it's a lighter load than when we arrived. We are leaving the materials behind, assembled into something useful. As we drive away, I watch the cabin disappear in the rearview mirror. It stands alone against the tree line, small against the mountain, but unmovable. It's ready for the winter. It's ready for whatever comes next. And so are we. The unforgiving conditions didn't break us. They forged us. This is the reality of building alone, or with a small crew, in the wild. It is not a montage. It is not a time lapse. It is a grind. It is hours of boredom punctuated by moments of terror and flashes of brilliance. It is wet socks and smashed thumbs. But it is also the most honest work you can do. You put in effort, you get out shelter. The equation is simple. The road back to civilization feels smooth, too smooth.
We're gonna have to shim it.
The noise of the world starts to creep back in. But I can still feel the weight of the logs in my hands. I can still smell the pine and the wood smoke. That stays with you. It grounds you. We often talk about conquering nature, but that's the wrong word. You don't conquer this. You survive it. You negotiate with it. You adapt to it. This cabin isn't a monument to conquest, it's a monument to adaptation. We adapted to the mud. We adapted to the cold. We adapted to the weight. And in doing so, we created a space where a human can exist comfortably in a place where they shouldn't. That's the essence of building. It's an act of defiance against entropy. The universe wants to tear things down, to rot them, to freeze them, to scatter them. We gather them up, join them together, and say, "No, not today." The video ends not with a fanfare, but with the quiet sound of the wind in the trees and the crackle of the fire inside the cabin. A testament to the work, a testament to the will, a cabin in the unforgiving conditions. Done. Every time I swing a hammer now, I remember the sound it makes when the temperature is 10 below zero. A sharp, high-pitched ring that hurts your ears. I remember the feeling of mortar freezing on the trowel before you can spread it. These memories are the real blueprint. They are the knowledge that you carry to the next job. Because there is always a next job. There is always another cabin to build, another trench to dig, another mountain to climb. But for now, we rest. We let the muscles heal. We let the calluses harden. We let the satisfaction settle in. We built something real. In a world full of digital noise and fleeting things, we built something that you can touch, something that keeps you warm, something that lasts. And that is enough. The camera pans over the finished stonework, the way the logs settle onto each other, the smoke rising straight up into the still, cold air. It's a peaceful image, born from violence and effort. It's the balance restored. The resistance of the matter has been met by the will of the human, and they have found a truce. The cabin is that truce. And as the screen fades to black, all you hear is the wind. And then, silence. The profound, heavy silence of a job well done. The silence of survival. We drive on, the tires crunching on the gravel, leaving the unforgiving conditions behind, but carrying the strength they gave us forever. The cabin remains, silent, strong, waiting. The narrative isn't just about the wood and stone. It's about the internal dialogue, the voice in your head that tells you to quit when the mud is over your boot tops, the voice you have to silence with the rhythm of work. That is the real project. The cabin is just the byproduct of that internal victory. I look at my hands on the steering wheel. They are rougher than they were a month ago, scarred, stained. They look like tools now, and I smile, because these hands built a home where there was nothing but ice and rock. And that is a power that money can't buy. That is the power of creation. The journey is over, but the cabin is just beginning its life. It will see storms we can't imagine. It will see seasons change. It will grow old and gray, just like us. But it will stand. And that knowledge is the only payment we need. From the first strike of the pickaxe to the final latch of the door, it was a battle. A beautiful, exhausting, necessary battle. And we won. Narrator takes a breath. If you've ever felt the ground fight back, if you've ever felt the satisfaction of a heavy weight lifted, then you know. You know why we do this. It's not for the views, it's for the feeling of being alive. And right now, driving away from that cabin in the snow, I've never felt more alive. The end of the road is in sight. The lights of the town are flickering in the distance. We are returning to the world of comfort. But part of us will always be back there, on the mountain, in the mud, building the impossible. Because once you build in the unforgiving conditions build a home in you. Fade out.
It's still uneven. Look at the misalignment here. Yeah, the flow is returning poorly.